Hey everyone, Martin here. First up, thank you for all the nice comments in my last video. I was really worried before uploading it whether people can empathize with what I talked about. While I did talk a little bit about the development of A Home in Darkness, I didn't want to talk too much about the actual progress I've made. I figured this is better presented in the devlog you are watching right now. In order to talk about how far along the game actually is, I first need to lay out a rough sketch of the game's scope. For those who don't know what A Home in Darkness is, it's a survival horror game made in God of War, inspired by Alone in the Dark. When I started this project, I wanted to make a survival horror game that actually deals with magic and rituals as a core mechanic. The Alone in the Dark games always had puzzles like that, but never really gave the player the option to cast spells at will. This is something Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem did on the GameCube, which is also an inspiration for my game, even though I never got the chance to play it. With this in mind, Resident Evil and Silent Hill are of course also points of reference for me, but less so. My game isn't about biological weapons, nor is it about psychological horror. No, it's straight up about fighting supernatural horror with supernatural means. For me, one of the big problems during development was to properly merge an engaging character-driven story with this idea of supernatural horror in a way that lets the player learn the magic system naturally while having fun playing around with it. I started out with a very strict puzzle-solving system similar to Phasmophobia, but it just wasn't fun for the type of game I wanted to make. So instead, I'm looking into more action-oriented magic systems. I already named Eternal Darkness, but a big influence is also Dark Souls. My game won't become a Souls-like, but I think there are some game design ideas worth implementing. The big challenge is to implement those ideas and making the system match my original vision of letting the player learn the system, giving them this moment of realization and figuring something out. I have a basic combat and magic system in place, but of course these aspects can only be properly implemented when there is enough content inside the game to allow for such depth. So before I can further work on the system, I first need to create locations, items, enemies, and of course spells to interact with each other. I already got a rough draft for all the areas in the hometown of the main character, but I still need to create some additional areas I don't want to spoil here, because I still have to design them and they are a major part of the story progression. With that, we've covered locations. Let's talk about spells next. The player can learn spells and use them. Right now I only have so-called rituals acting in a specific area, one of which triggers a poison cloud, for example. But because I already have a system to equip ranged weapons, spells like Magic Missile or Fireball are possible to implement as well. I'm just not sure whether I want to do that, because they feel very gamey and not really mystical in my opinion. Different items will have different effects on the player, their spells or enemies. Some can be equipped, others act more like puzzle items. I know this doesn't sound too fancy, but again, I still need to design most of those items and I don't want to spoil too much anyway. With enemies I already have a bunch of test characters. Because I implemented a RPG stat system, it's fairly easy to make each enemy type have unique strengths and weaknesses. These are directly tied to the magic system and can easily be enhanced. So the basic system is in place, but of course it needs to be tuned and balanced according to the spells and items I want to have in-game. Hearing all this, it might sound like there isn't much of a game right now. And you'd be right. At the same time, even with what little I have, the game is already much more fun than what I had initially. And the systems are refined enough to allow implementing new enemies, items, spells and locations fairly easily. It is weird to say out loud, but all the game needs right now is content. It already has a working save system. It also already has a good working options menu. It can already deal with game events triggering in cutscenes or outside of cutscenes, and so much more. I just can't show it off because the game content is missing. I'm working hard to put the content in. Hopefully I'll have another test build of the game up soon. It will not only work as a small demo for the gameplay, but will also be used to test the game on some old hardware. If it does work, I intend to make a proper video on how I made this happen. This is where the game development is at in May 2025. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.